So previous trauma or previous attachment histories we talked a little bit about, which some people think about in the trauma, with a trauma lens as well. But any previous negative experiences get imported directly when being with a romantic committed partner. And there's really reasons for that have to do with the fact that our romantic partner, we really depend on them. They're family. And so they're going to open up like the family file, in our head. And all the things that we learned, all those adaptations and expectations I talked about with the attachment theory, are going to be like really salient when we're in front of our partner. So I'll give an example. It's like if if a woman was always shamed or often shamed by her dad, then when her husband says something a little bit critical, she'll feel like, read it as intense shaming. And then all the feelings about that are going to kind of like come up. And this has to do with implicit memory, which is just, implicit memory is like when there's not a time stamp on the memory. It's like when we are having a memory, but we don't have the sensation of having a memory. It's kind of like the opposite of deja vu. It's like we're actually having just a memory, but we feel like it's happening right now. And the most extreme example of that would be a flashback, where we're like suddenly there again, reliving it, and we're like thinking everybody around us is like the people from that memory. So we all have little versions of a flashback, where, especially when it's trauma, because trauma is more likely to be encoded implicitly. So when it comes again, we get confused. It's like we're having all those feelings about that negative experience, but we don't realize we're just remembering the feeling. It's like we think it's about the present. So in the example of a woman that's had a lot of shame, it's like that his voice or something just triggered a memory, that's all. Because we work with associations, so it's like association, like that little network, just triggered the memory of being shamed, unconsciously, but it like brought that up. But then all the feelings about it, that feeling of feeling like a little girl and so small, and it gets triggered as if it's alive, happening now, and we think it's happening again. And so that's why we project that they're shaming us. And then we have all the stuff, the anger, and then people get really mad at their partner and attacking. They don't even know what's going on, but suddenly they're in fight or flight in that part of their brain, and without being aware of it, and they're attacking because they don't feel safe. And then that triggers the other person's traumas and implicit memories, and then they're going back and forth. And none of that's conscious, and people don't know why. And they're like, wow, that seemed like such an overreaction, But it's really important not to shame it, because we all have those kinds of implicit, unresolved stuff. And so if we shame it or think like, don't make me into your mother or something like that, like I'll hear people say that. And it's like, no, I mean, who else are they going to make into their mother if not you? Like that makes sense. That is human nature to do that. You can't tell someone not to do that. Then we just have to, if it's in couples therapy, then we just work with what do you do in that moment when you realize that that's happening.